Well, hey there, it's that coding guy here, breaking it down and making it accessible. In this video, we're going to talk about putting. So we are going to put rooms in our web service tonight. And as always, I kick off with doing a little bit of Git work. So we're going to create a new branch here for our work on the putting feature. So we'll do git checkout -b, and we'll do putting. And we're set up on a new branch. Do a git status, make sure that we're clean before we get started here. And then I will put this guy over on my other monitor for the moment. We will start in the controller. So if you're new to this application, we're creating controller for these dungeon rooms in our dungeon keeper application. And we've already got the getAllRooms method, which returns a list of all rooms. And the post actually returns the posted room. So now we'll do a put, and puts are the edit of the CRUD functionality, create, read, update, and delete. That would be the update we're going to work on. And I'm really going to use the post as a little bit of a template here, and we'll pretty much be able to copy and paste most of that for the most part. So let's get started there with that. I'll make this a little bigger here. And we'll create the public room method. So our return type here is going to be room, because it's best practice when doing RESTful web services that we return the object that got edited or updated. And we will name this edit room. We're also going to need a request body for this, because we need to allow the client to pass in information about the room. So we'll do that. And we're also going to need the ID of the resource that they want to edit. So we'll need to allow them to pass in that long ID. And that is going to be a path variable, because that is going to come from the path. We'll put that method in there like so, and we'll leave off the implementation for a second. We're going to move on into the put mapping annotation, and we'll also need to add the path that this will be looking for. And so we're going to be at /rooms still, but we need to supply the ID of the thing that we are editing. So if we want to edit the room with ID number 1, we would need to have on the URL something like rooms/1. Sorry, this would be localhost 8080 /rooms/1. So to specify the ID, we'll come into the put mapping, give it quotes, and we will use ID in curly brackets. And that is going to tell the framework, hey, whatever the client passed in here, whether it's 1 or 100, assign that to this variable right here. And we'll have access to that inside our controller method. So the framework will take care of mapping that for us. And I have not included a slash here like so, but it is understood by the framework that we'll be starting at /rooms. It will put the slash in for us, and we can have the ID right here. If you want to be explicit, you can certainly put that in there. We will handle that just fine. So either way you want to go there. All right. So we need the implementation for this guy. Now, if you've been with me at all through some of these Dungeon Keepers, you'll know that I'm a very incremental coder when I code things. I want to test things out piece by piece as we go and make sure that things are working the way we expect them to, so we don't work for a couple hours before we actually run the thing, because then we've got a couple hours of code that we could potentially have a bug in. But right now I've only got a few minutes worth of work that I could potentially have a bug in. So let's just put in something silly here for a moment. We'll return a new room, and we'll have it be edit test as the name. And one more thing we'll do here real quick is put in the response status annotation. So for the posts, we have a 201 created HTTP status code. It's best practice for edits that will have a 200 OK. So we'll do HTTP status dot OK, and that will stick the 200 OK status on the Postman response when we have a successful request. So let's go ahead and run this guy now. Looks like we started up OK. We'll first do a get at our 8080/rooms. So we've got abandoned barracks and the throne room there. And we'll come over into this put request, and what I've got here is the put at 8080/rooms/1. Remember we said we need the ID on the path here. It's part of our put mapping. And I've got a empty body at the moment. It is set to be the raw JSON format. We've got an empty body, and I'm just going to send that. And we do get back a 200 OK, and the ID is null. That's fine, but the name is edit test. And that's because we just hard coded this new room to be returned. So I'm confident that this much is working. We've gotten our request into the controller. So now we can move ahead with our normal development here. And we will do the room service. So, right, the controller's job, remember, is to basically catch that request and basically call the room service. So that's what we'll do here. Room service dot edit room, and we'll pass it the room and the ID. Now this is not lighting up. It's in red right now because we don't have edit room on our interface. So, and I guess we would probably want to return the result of that. So if we come over to the room service, we see, we've got the get all rooms, we've got create room. We will do room, edit room, and we said we're taking the room and the long ID. Save that guy there. And if we come over into the room service impl, up at the top here, it's saying, hey, room service impl must either be declared abstract or implement that method, edit room. Looks like I made a typo over here. That's a capital O, but we want a regular one. So I'll save that, and I'll just choose implement methods here, and that's going to create the shell for me. You can see that. Put that in there like so. Got that room return type. It named it edit room and has the room and the ID as we expected there. And the shell just said, hey, return null for the moment. But what we really want to do is return the room repository. Actually, hold off on that. what we want to do is bring the room in and set the ID of it. So we've got this room, and we want to set the ID of that room to be the ID that we passed in. Now, it's possible that whoever did this and supplied the put body, had the ID be different in the body than they did. And I'll go ahead and throw the name in here to have a full request. And we'll call this the kitchen. It's possible that somebody had the ID in here of 3 and it mismatched the ID of the one we actually want to edit. So for this simple implementation, what we'll do is just make sure that this thing matches the one on the path, because the one on the path is the ID of the resource that we want to edit. So we'll just come in and set that ID and just save it. We can return room repository.save and the room. And if we come back to the controller, it looks like that is okay. So let's run this guy and see what happens. All right, we rerun it and we get our state set back to normal. So we've got the abandoned barracks and the throne room when we do that get. And let's say we want to change ID number 1 to kitchen. So we've got that on the path. We've got this ID here, and we'll change that. We do get our 200 OK, and we do get the object back as we expect, right? Our RESTful best practices says, hey, here's that object as it is now in the database. It's been updated. And I would expect if we run this get again, we will see that abandoned barracks is now gone and we have kitchen instead. And there we go. So some additional things to think about here are, what if the ID that we passed in doesn't actually exist? What if we pass in 1,000 here? What's going to happen? Let's try it out. So in that case, what happened was it didn't exist. We set this to 1,000, and then we gave it to the database. Here you go, database. Database is like, oh, there's an ID that I don't know about yet because it's only on ID 2. Like, it chucked it out the window and it auto-numbered to the next one because that's the database's job, setting IDs on stuff. It's like, that doesn't exist? Well, I'll just create a new one. And that's why we got ID 3 back. And now we have, whoops, I just hit that again. I meant to do a get. So now we've got kitchen in here 3 times. So what we might want to do is have some error handling on that. And what I will do is leave that for a future episode on error handling. And we'll see how to handle that particular use case. Because as you can see, like we're doing a put here, but we're creating new ones every single time. Now, this may be what you want to happen in your business logic. This is commonly referred to as an upsert, where if it does exist, it will be updated. If it does not exist, it will be inserted. That's where upsert comes from. It's pretty common, but for your implementation, you may not want that. You may not want that at all. So this is a choice we make as application developers, depending on our use case. and the kind of constraints we have for our domain as part of our business logic. So we'll dig into that in another video. But for now, I will do a Java comment on here, our Java docs. So we can do the /**, and that will put that template in there for us. And again, when we make these, what we do is talk about what it does, but not how it does it. So this method exposes the, oops, I was thinking about the controller method, updates a room by ID. And the room is the new data for the object. The ID is the ID of the object to be updated. And we return the updated object. All right, so that's our Java doc there on the implementation, and then on the controller we can do the same thing. I had this extraneous comment in there from earlier, and we can once again do that. And this one exposes an endpoint for editing a room. The room is the information to be updated in the database. The ID is the ID of the object to be updated, and we return the updated object. And I will just make sure that we have this reformatted code. I'm going to include subdirectories, optimize imports, rearrange entries, and clean up code. That's going to run all the code styling in there for us on everything that we touched, so that we don't have anything crazy going on as far as our styling goes. And I'm just double checking here for some extra lines, which I don't see any. Doing our polish pass here, and if you're not sure what that is, I've got a video about that. This looks pretty good. So I will bring over the Git window here, and we'll finish up. Oops. Make this a little larger. Not wanting to cooperate. All right. Well, we will do a git add. I'm going to add everything that we did here. We'll do a git commit -m added update functionality, and do that. And we will git push origin pudding. Remember, I always recommend, if you're going to push to a branch, go ahead and do the full path. Git push origin, name of the branch. That way you know where your commits are going 100% of the time. There's no question about, did I set my upstream remote? I'm not sure. It's really explicit. So, cool. That is updating. Hope it's helpful. Cheers.